At WrestleMania 39, Bray Wyatt was originally scheduled to face off against Bobby Lashley. However, Bray Wyatt caught COVID and was taken off television. No one knew how serious Bray's illness was, and he would pass away later in August of 2023. But what if this never happened? What if Bray never got sick and would have continued to be on television? Well, that's what we're going to try to discuss. So the question is, what if Bray Wyatt never passed away? But first, some context. On a SmackDown before the 2023 Elimination Chamber, Bray Wyatt declared that he would fight the winner of Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley would end up winning, even though it was by disqualification, and Lashley would then become Bray's new target. Shortly after is when Bray was pulled off television, and the rest is history. But in our scenario, Bray never gets sick and stays on television. Uncle Howdy would become more of a fixture, and on the lead up to WrestleMania, Bray Wyatt would target Bobby Lashley as a first stepping stone to really getting back what he wants. Bray feels like he was screwed because of Roman Reigns' chicanery, so Bray wants to be back on top again. But the difference this time is that he won't be doing it as the Fiend. Bray proclaims that the Fiend is dead and he won't be going back to that character ever again. So at WrestleMania 39, Bray Wyatt would have his first match at Mania since, well, you know. This match would turn out to be a match between two dominant forces. Bray would lock on the Mandible Claw and Bobby would lock on the Hurt Lock. Both holds would be broken by both men. Bobby looks to set up a spear to finish Bray Wyatt off, but the lights go out. And when the lights come back on, Howdy is laid out in the middle of the ring, and Bray capitalizes by connecting with his sister Abigail to pin Bobby Lashley. Bray Wyatt wins at WrestleMania thanks to an assist from Uncle Howdy. After WrestleMania, Bray Wyatt would cut a promo talking about his win. He'd say that this win is the first on a pathway to becoming the Universal Champion again, as Roman has been champion since Bray lost it in 2020. However, Bray would be unhappy with the assistance from Uncle Howdy and says he doesn't need the assistance of his followers. Now Bray wants to find his next target on his conquest back to the top of the mountain. The next week, Edge would compete in a match on SmackDown against someone, I don't know, Santos Escobar. Anyways, Edge would win this match, and after the match, the lights go out and Bray appears in the ring. Bray locks on a Mandible Claw and makes his intentions clear to take out the Rated R superstar. Now, the build to this would be really good television actually. Bray would play mind games with Edge, and Edge would embrace his inner brood to show that Edge can go to that dark place to beat Bray Wyatt. One thing that would be apparent is that Bray Wyatt would not want Uncle Howdy to be involved in this match at all. He wants to do it on his own. So at Backlash, Edge would face off against Bray Wyatt for the first time ever, and it would be an interesting match to say the least. Bray and Edge would try to out-freak each other, but Edge would hit a spear on the Bray Wyatt to pin him for the 3. Edge would get a shock win over Bray Wyatt, and fans would be upset. Oh look, they buried Bray again, his gimmick's dead now, rip. But after the match, Uncle Howdy would come out on stage and just glare at Wyatt and leave. Bray is distraught, and this starts his downward spiral of sorts. Uncle Howdy would start to pester Bray about losing and saying how the Fiend would have destroyed Edge. But Bray still resists the evil Uncle Howdy. Uncle Howdy basically becomes a devil on Bray's shoulder, pestering him to go to that place while Bray's conscience is trying to resist it. Bray wants to get payback on Edge, but Lashley makes a surprise return and takes down Wyatt. Edge and Lashley stand tall, and Bray Wyatt realizes that in order to get his revenge on Edge and Lashley at this point, he'd have no choice but to align with Uncle Howdy to take on Bobby Lashley and Edge. General Manager Adam Pearce turns this match into an Extreme Rules match, so this match would probably be very violent with a bunch of weapons and shit. At Night of Champions, Uncle Howdy and Bray Wyatt would team up to take on Edge and Bobby Lashley in a hardcore match. These two teams would rip each other to shreds. Wyatt and Lashley are brawling to the back, and Uncle Howdy is able to hit the sister Abigail on the Edge to pin him for the 3. Uncle Howdy celebrates by himself and decides to obliterate Edge after the match. This would write Edge off of television indefinitely, and it makes Uncle Howdy look like an absolute demon. Lashley ends up leaving Wyatt laid out after the two went at it backstage. Uncle Howdy would use this as a sign of weakness to show Wyatt that he needs to become him again. The Howdy-Wyatt dynamic would boil over, with the two now destined to fight at Money in the Bank. It's a fight Wyatt needs to win, but Howdy is looking to prove once and for all that Wyatt is weak without the Fiend. The two would square off, and Howdy would prove to be a lot more than Wyatt could handle. Uncle Howdy's sister Abigail's Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt kicks out of it. Wyatt gets back up to tell him to fuck off, and Howdy locks on a mandible claw to defeat Bray Wyatt. Uncle Howdy shocks Bray Wyatt and defeats him in his first singles match, I believe, at this point. After the match, the lights go out, and both men vanish from the ring. Both Wyatt and Howdy would disappear for the next 2 weeks or so. After Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, the current undisputed tag team champions, defeat some team, I don't know, the Viking Raiders, God bless their soul, the lights go out, and Uncle Howdy's in the ring, and Sister Abigail's Sami Zayn. Lights go out again, and both Sami and KO are in the ring like, what the hell just happened? But it becomes clear that Uncle Howdy has set his sights on the tag team championships, but who is his partner? Next week, Uncle Howdy will cut his first promo live on SmackDown. The gist is that Howdy says he has a partner and he will be at SummerSlam. And he says that Owens and Zayn, you should run. Despite that threat, Kevin Owens comes out and stuns Uncle Howdy, getting some revenge onto what Howdy did to Zayn the week prior, and says, I don't care who your partner is, we're still gonna beat your ass come SummerSlam. At SummerSlam, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn make their entrance as the champions. I know it's weird that the champions are coming out first, but there's a reason for this. Uncle Howdy comes out and we await his partner. The lights go out, and the Firefly Funhouse skit appears, and everyone's like, uh-oh. And then the Fiend comes out. He makes his return at SummerSlam. That's right, after months of fighting it, Wyatt gives in and becomes the Fiend once again, and his Uncle Howdy partner in the tag match for the Undisputed Tag titles. And the Fiend ends up destroying both Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, leading to both the Fiend and Uncle Howdy becoming tag team champions. It seems like Uncle Howdy is controlling the Fiend? Bray Wyatt? Or is it vice versa? Who knows, but I mean, honestly, it's a pretty badass team. Uncle Howdy and the Fiend. Both Bray Wyatt and Uncle Howdy would go on to dominate the tag team division for the rest of the year, beating Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn again at Payback, and would beat the majority of the tag teams on television. Hell, Bray Wyatt would switch between gimmicks, the Fiend, his shattered persona, even the Firefly Funhouse. Because let's be real, no one would beat this team. Yeah, like I said, no one. Starting the new year, Bray Wyatt and Uncle Howdy are still tag team champions, but they will defend their championships once again at the Royal Rumble, this time against the Judgment Day, Damian Priest and Finn Balor. But in the lead up to the Rumble, Bray starts to have issues with Uncle Howdy, particularly in the Firefly Funhouse. Bray would just seem to not really care that much about Howdy and just be dismissive of him, and would focus mainly on himself over Uncle Howdy, who'd become part of the Firefly Funhouse with Bray. They would have segments together, and Uncle Howdy would be kind of like a side character to Bray Wyatt's whole shtick, but Bray is just kind of ignoring him at this point. But at the Royal Rumble, the Fiend and Uncle Howdy team up once again. This would be the end of the duo. The Fiend looks to finish off Finn Balor, but Howdy just tags in on his own, interrupting the flow of the match, and the Fiend attacks him for it. Uncle Howdy gets hit with the Sister Abigail, and the Fiend walks out and leaves. Balor then hits a coup de grace to win the tag team championships. The Judgment Day win the tag titles back, as the Fiend just watches his brother lose. Afterwards, Bray locks on a mandible claw to Uncle Howdy, signaling the end of this partnership, as the Fiend is set free from Uncle Howdy's control. But who was really in control? Was it Uncle Howdy, or was it Bray in control this entire time? Bray's on the Firefly Funhouse and talks about how he got rid of Uncle Howdy, and now he can move on to his other bigger goals. Bray reveals how Uncle Howdy tried to influence the Fiend, but Bray wanted to show that he was always in control of him. While Uncle Howdy did provide the push for the Fiend to come back, Howdy was always the second player and was along for the ride till Howdy thought he was in control, so the Fiend showed him that he's nothing, and now that Bray is in control of the Fiend again, nothing can stop him. At Elimination Chamber, the Fiend would return to action once again as he would take on Dominic Mysterio. Yes, I'm not even kidding, Dominic Mysterio. Originally, Brock Lesnar was supposed to fight Dominic Mysterio, but that obviously fell through. Oh, God! Ah! So they're like, fuck it, we're gonna have you fight the Fiend, good luck kid. And the match goes exactly as you think it would go. Dominic gets obliterated by the Fiend, and Bray ends his night really quickly just to put him out of his misery. But something unexpected happens. The lights go out, and we see Uncle Howdy in the ring, but without his mask, revealing himself as Bo Dallas. The Fiend is shaken by this, and the Fiend eats a Sister Abigail from Bo Dallas. At this point, everyone knew that Uncle Howdy was Bo Dallas, so it's not really a surprise to anyone that was really watching the show. But from a story perspective, it's a shock to Bray. And to be honest, that matters more than the fans reading dirt sheets about, oh my god, breaking news, Uncle Howdy's Bo Dallas. Following Elimination Chamber, Bo Dallas is coming out to cut a promo about why he became Uncle Howdy. He talks about wanting to get back into the spotlight and breaking the fourth wall for a bit, reveals that he re-signed in 2022 before Bray Wyatt came back. Knowing Bray better than anyone, he knew that Uncle Howdy was the scariest character of them all for Bray Wyatt. When Bray returned, Bray was different, and by becoming that dark character, he could help Bray become the monster he once was. With Bray struggling with himself as to what he should be, he wanted to push him in the direction of becoming the monster he was. Bo says that this has been the craziest year of his career, and while he had to play a character, he reached success he's never achieved before. He went from being a part of social outcasts to being undisputed tag team champions with one of the biggest stars in the company, Bray Wyatt. But now that that partnership has ended, there's no reason for him to be that character anymore. He thought he had things under control and he could control the Fiend, but he was wrong. Bray Wyatt then pops up on the screen and talks about what happened at the Rumble. He says, Bo, you wanted to push him out. You thought you were in control of our relationship, but you were mistaken. I've always been in control of him and I tolerated you. You were a helpful pawn in me becoming the monster I've always become. You were a helpful pawn in me becoming the monster I've always been. But once you started to think you were more than that, once you started to think that you were more than what you're worth, that's when reality slapped you in the face. So now that you've revealed yourself, our relationship is done. But if you want to pursue me, then you won't like the outcome. You should run. Bo Dallas ends up demanding a match with Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania. He wants to prove himself as an equal to Bray. But Bo doesn't want to fight Bray Wyatt the man. He wants a one-on-one with the Fiend. Bo wants to fight the monster he brought out of Bray, but also he wants to prove that he can hang with him at his best. We get Bray in the Firefly Funhouse talking about Bo's decision to fight the Fiend. Bray's like, Bo, I hope you understand what you're getting yourself into. This is a force you've teamed with but never faced off against. If you're going through with this, I hope you're ready because he will be ready to destroy you. On the SmackDown before WrestleMania 40, Bo Dallas would wrestle his first televised match as Bo Dallas in 4 years or so. I don't know who he would have fought. He probably would have fought like Austin Theory or something. But the point is, Bo would have gotten a win over Austin Theory. I mean, I know that doesn't really mean that much, but a win's a win. However, the lights go out. The Fiend is in the ring. The two have a stare down before the lights go out again. And the Fiend is gone. And now it's time for the match. Bray Wyatt versus Bo Dallas at WrestleMania 40. Brother versus brother, even though it's not really advertised as that, it is. The match between these two would be a sleeper match on their card. Bo Dallas would try everything to beat the Fiend, but the Fiend just keeps coming back for more. Bray would lock on a mandible claw and it looks to be over, but Bo kicks out of the mandible claw. Bray goes into the corner and does his scary, creepy, crawly walk over to Bo Dallas, but Bo hits a Bo Dazzler out of nowhere, and then he hits one more Sister Abigail to pin Bray Wyatt and win. Bo Dallas defeated the Fiend, picking up the biggest win of his career, and this win would catapult Bo into the spotlight. It gives him the one thing he needed, credibility. And after the match, the Fiend gets back up and looks at Bo, but then he disappears. A nod of approval, perhaps? Well, we'll probably never know what it means. But what happens after WrestleMania? Well, I'm going to give some general stuff since if we tried to go on for years and years and years meticulously, we'd be here forever. So we'll start with Bray Wyatt. After WrestleMania 40, Bray Wyatt would go on a hiatus and would transition into a part-time role. getting a similar schedule to CM Punk where he's active on TV but not wrestling every week. This would be very beneficial for Bray's career as he'd get to be a consistent fixture on television while also protecting his character's mystique. Plus, Bray would probably swap between his personas. Bray would become an attraction character, a guy who wouldn't need a title, but when he's there, he's going to be on the show. In terms of the Universal Championship, personally, I am not very confident that they would actually give him the championship again, especially with Triple H booking. I know Vince McMahon would always give The Fiend the title, but honestly, I just don't see them giving Bray Wyatt the championship because he doesn't need it, kind of like Undertaker, but who knows. I could be wrong about that, and Bray Wyatt could have won the Universal title 5 times. As for Bo Dallas, a win over Bray Wyatt at Mania would catapult the guy's career, and he would be put at the upper mid-card to possibly main event scene. He'd be fighting guys like Gunther, Jey Uso, Damian Priest, Finn Balor, the list goes on. But another interesting plot point could be the establishment of Bo's own faction. Like, it could even be something similar to what's going on TV right now with the barcodes and whatnot. I'd guess that they would go down this route with Bo, and Bo's group would probably debut in like June. Regardless, Bo's career would be in a really good place, and now that he's got that win, he could get others over like Joe Gacy or Dexter Lumis. Both guys would move on, and their paths would cross again. This will definitely be one of those what-if scenarios that is both interesting, but also incredibly morbid. Trying to piece a story together that never occurred can be tricky, but I think this scenario is a very possible outcome of what could have happened if Bray was still around. It's just such a tragedy that we never got to see how Bray's second one would have turned out. But what I know is that Bray Wyatt's legacy will live on forever. Thanks for watching, and take care of yourself, everyone.